All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another HR Heretics segment. We're going to talk about Deel and Rippling. I've been receiving all the DMs and all the text messages being like, oh my God, Heretics has to talk about this. So we're going to get to that in a second. But first, I want to do just like a quick rundown of Transform. Kelli, we were sad to miss you. It was like the first time I haven't seen you there in years.
Yeah. Transform's big fan. Been there from the beginning. And we should talk about this in a different segment, but dealing with some health issues with the family and had to miss it and getting thrashed all around with life. And it's crazy when these things happen. We should talk about it in the next segment, but it's been hard.
We should. I totally agree. And my prayers are up for you and your family. And, the thing is like, we always forget that, people have so much going on that we don't see. Yeah. So we're praying for you, Kelli. But on Transform, look, I mean, dude, it's a lot, there's a lot going on. I always forget how much like my inbox blows up while I'm there. And like, I'm on the floor and I'm meeting with people. And then you get back to your hotel room after a few drinks and you're like, just trying to pass out. And you're like, 250 messages later, like, oh shit, like I'm going to have some work to do in front of me tonight. But I think in general, what I thought was really awesome was the Expo Hall. Like Expo Hall was sick this year. Cool. And like, given where we are with HR technology and AI specifically, you can kind of like go up and like, what are you guys doing? Like, give me a demo, like who your customers, and you can do it so much faster and so much more organically than like a full sales process, which I really liked. And I had historically not liked the Expo Hall. So I thought that was awesome. Obviously, like the dinners and stuff like that is like really where the magic happens. My big take is like when you get people into these more intimate settings, they're just way more authentic and real and less performative. And I think in HR, we are really yearning for more of that amongst ourselves. And so I think that was really cool. And then the other thing is that, the feedback on the show was really positive, Kelli. The things that I heard was, you guys are actually like talking about the real stuff in a friendly, like you guys have good banter. And so like, you guys push each other on things, but like we're talking about the things that I'm thinking about. And so this is outside of my talking to my own friends. This is where I go to get that feedback and those insights. The other thing I heard is people love the short segments. So we'll keep those coming. That was a Kelli idea. And so, instead of doing 3-hour podcasts, which it turns out nobody has fucking time for, these are much better. And then the last piece of feedback I heard was, Nolan, you're really tall. So like for those of you who don't know, I'm 6'4", and apparently I present like a midget on the
little
show.
Person, Nolan, a little person. It's so funny, like, first of all, the short segments. Thank you. Totally agree. It's secret selfish, by the way, because I have a scorching case of ADHD for anyone who knows me. So it's like, it's win-win there. But yeah, in all my years, whether it's Transform or other conferences, you know what I mean? And thank you. I got a bunch of texts from people that were there, and you know what their texts were? It was all about connecting with people. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, track number 3, panel at 1:50 p.m. was incredible. No one even talked about the panels. They talked about finally meeting people that they either knew about or they had other interactions, whether it was Zoom or email, in person in a different way. And that's the kind of stuff that sticks with you. And, the HR leaders that I coach, they're like, what should I focus on? What should I do out there? I'm like, listen, you target people that you want to get to know. Forget about the surface level happy hours and skating around at the top of the waterline. You spend more quality time with less people and target those people. And I just got a lot of great comments on that. I know you hosted a dinner, Nolan, with Metaview. But yeah, I had 2 people who were like, geez, Nolan's so tall in person. And it wasn't that they thought you were a little person, but I just told him before the show, I mean, it's not like kind of tall, dude. It's like, I just called him a stork. I mean, the guy is like very tall, very lean. And so it can be a little alarming for folks that are used to seeing you sitting down. So I love that.
Well, for what it's worth, my high school baseball coach called me Big Bird.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So you guys can call me that now too. All right, let's get into this Deel and Rippling fucking insane drama. So I will do my best to set the scene, and bear with me because these details are extensive and stranger than fiction in some cases. So essentially what Rippling is alleging is that Deel had, I will describe it as like a spy planted a spy inside of Rippling's office in Dublin. And this person had full access to Rippling's CRM. And so anytime Rippling was trying to poach a Deel customer, the sales rep would pass the intel all to Deel. So, and that included things like the proposal, the pricing, like everything. And so anytime Rippling was in a competitive process with Deel, the sales rep would share all of those details with Deel, right? So this is essentially like a double agent, right? Like inside of the company and then passing information back. Now, the way Rippling figured it out is honestly like this reads from the show Homeland. Do you ever watch that, Kelly?
That's a great show.
I fucking love that show. Okay,
yeah,
so it's
not going anymore, but
no, it's not going anymore. It's like worth like, if you get through seasons like 3 and 4, which is a little weird, it gets really good at the end. So they used what they call a honeypot, and I had never heard of this before. And so this is exactly what it was. So in early March, Rippling's general counsel sent a letter to 3 leaders at Deel: their CFO, their head of legal, and an employment attorney that Deel uses. And they basically said, hey, there was a screenshot in there referencing a Slack channel that no one was using, that they had created in the hopes that Deel's leadership team would see it, tell the double agent, and then the double agent would go figure out what's happening inside the Slack channel. Now, the craziest part about who they emailed this to, so Deel's CEO's dad is the board chair, the CFO, and the GC. He was on this letter. So what they're alleging is that literally the CEO's father, who was also on the leadership team, was the person that was alerting the double agent inside of Rippling. So then what happened was the Deel employee inside of Rippling went and they took the bait and they started to go look for this Slack channel. And I think it was like 20 times this person started searching Slack, and they have like the Excel list in the complaint for how many times they did it. So Kelly, what is your take on this situation?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, that's not a honeypot. That's like a mousetrap. That is like,
it's contrived.
Slam. Very layered. Very layered. And this was, remember, we talked about this a while back in April of 24, right? Rippling did a secondary tender offer, and they were the ones that were cutting out former employees that went to competitors from liquidating any of their shares to get, cash, because
we were hard on them
fear.
at that time. We were hard on them at that time because we're like, oh, come on. People go work for competitors all the time, sort of a thing.
Totally. And we had never seen that. We were like, well, they have every right to do that. And I mean, compared to what's happening with what you just described, that was like a Swedish massage. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So
exactly.
This is really layered. I mean, my first question, maybe that folks might be thinking about, is how does one actually plant a spy? What is that? Are they employees of both companies? And Rippling failed to catch it in a background check? Like, how does that even happen in the first place?
I think that this is way more common than people think. So I'll try it. I had a situation like this in my career. Mm-hmm. And so I'll try and do it. I'll try and give details without, removing all anonymity. So we had a situation to where an employee's relative was a higher up at a competitor. And we ended up finding on that person's laptop that they were screenshotting things that were confidential information to the company and sending them to the relative. Mm. Now, I'm not going to get into like how we found out and like what all that stuff happens, but ultimately, I think this is not uncommon. And then number 2 is, there was that meme during the pandemic, which was like, oh, the engineers are holding 2 jobs and like don't do anything. Well, this is the situation to where companies are being, very manipulative and contrived and saying like, well, actually, go hold 2 jobs, but like go in there and figure out what's going on and funnel it back to me. I will tell you, much, much earlier in my career, we wanted to learn about other interview processes and how competitors were assessing candidates. And so I have personally seen like dropping in like one of our AEs into a competitive AE process to go learn about that. Now, I don't think that that's as, I don't think that doesn't cross a moral boundary for me, because like that is more public information or like public-ish information. But I don't think that this stuff is new. I just think to the degree that we're seeing it right now is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and the Honeypot scheme, that was very complex. I mean, just to think through that and work through that. And then this spy, I mean, they were there, they were like almost at the finish line here, and then search, 20 searches in Slack.
So
if I'm thinking like an Ocean's 11 criminal, that's kind of an idiot move, is to do that.
I mean, yeah, it is. I think the bigger thing here, so I have a couple friends that work at Rippling, and when people go work for HR tech companies and I'm their friend, they typically hit me like, oh, what do you think about this company? Yeah. And every single time one of my friends is interviewing at Rippling, I'm like, look, they have a good product. It continues to get better. Their CEO, Parker Conrad, has gone through a lot in his life. And this is somebody who I would never want to fuck with. Like, I would never want Parker on my bad side. And I literally tell that to every single friend that goes over there. And so the story I tell myself, which I don't have any data on, but I'm just telling you, like, this is what I tell myself, is that they had an inkling this was happening, right? And so Parker, I mean, he's a savant. And I'm assuming that he's all over this thing because he's got an intuition it's going down. And so they designed this scheme. And then, the master stroke is not just the scheme to figure out what's going on. It's going mega public with it on Twitter. Mega, like for him to post the actual screenshots of the complaints and then to summarize it in a tweet thread, that part is brand new. And we have never seen that. And that is an example of leveraging modern media to make a point, because now nobody's going to fuck with Rippling on stuff like this anymore.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down. I think, let's just, backwards 8 years from now, kind of what would have happened. Oh, some Valentine's Day nastygram from their legal team on paper that doesn't go anywhere. Like, shit is different now. And that's technology. That is people getting smarter with technology. That is social media and the amplification of that. I think AI is going to play a lot into this in the future. I think this will be kind of the new norm out there. And I think it's going to shift a lot of things.
I agree.
I do. I mean, and a dumbed down version of that was the session we did on that woman who taped the shitty layoff message and then amplified that. And so,
yeah.
I just think, again, 8, 10, 12 years ago when we had Microsoft Outlook and no Slack and none of this shit, I don't think this stuff would have happened. So the world's getting more complex is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know. I got to hand it to the Honeypot scheme. That is incredibly complex.
That's an epic, because kind of like with security people, I'm always rolling my eyes and giving them shit. It's lawyers and security people, I'm always like, okay, guys, come on. I can't download this new software. Are we serious?
Yeah.
And this is an example.
These people you have respect for.
These people are ballers. These people belong in the CIA.
Yeah, that's right? That's not the letterhead from Orc being stop doing that.
Totally.
This is
these are killers. Yeah, these are legit killers.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors.
I must admit, I used to believe that AI didn't actually exist in recruiting or HR. That is until my friend Heather Doche, who leads talent at Signalfire, told me to check out Metaview. I got into the product and was like, wow, AI actually does exist in recruiting, and this product is sick. Metaview is the world's #1 AI scribe built specifically for recruiting. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. I've seen firsthand how tough it can be to extract consistently high-quality data from candidate conversations. I've been in debriefs where interviewers told us about their feelings instead of what actually happened in the interview. And I've seen VPs and CEOs block hires because they didn't learn anything from skeleton scorecards. Metaview changes everything. With perfect notes from every conversation, your people can focus on creating a human connection with candidates, and they can save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Metaview covers all your compliance needs, works with all your existing tools, and takes less than 3 minutes to set up. Join talent leaders at organizations like Brex, Deel, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts. Tell them that me and Kelly sent you. Or you could just go to their website and get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI-enabled in minutes.
And so my biggest takeaway here, we also earlier in my career, we faced an employee litigation suit. And one of the things that we were talking about, and I think we were a little early for our time when we were talking about it, was like, do you settle and just make it go away, even though you know you didn't do anything wrong? Or do you fight it and you make an example of that person so nobody fucks with you ever again? And I feel like we've now entered an era that CEOs want to go to war because, they feel like they haven't done anything wrong. And oftentimes they haven't. Like, these closed door conversations are very complex, right, Kelly? You've been a part of them. You've seen these things. Certainly many companies don't act the right way and they should be called out and they should be punished for those things. But we have entered a world to where there's a lot of litigiousness. There's a lot of coming for companies. And I think CEOs have had enough. And so you got to be really careful about the fights you pick now, especially with CEOs like this. And it sets a message for me, which is never fuck with Rippling.
Yeah, I think just to double down on that theme and kind of take it broader, I think the next phase of work and tech and all this is akin to the theme of things are just out there more now. Whether it's this, whether it's a show like this. Would we have done a show like this 10 years ago?
No shot. Zero
There's
shot.
no fucking way. And so I think what you're seeing is just not even a tolerance, but, appetite for once taboo conversations or examples or hush-hush litigious things. No one cares. I mean, everyone's just kind of wearing it on their sleeve now and talking about it and using social media. And I think a lot of times that's good. Sometimes it's not good. Other times it's distracting. Other times it's helpful. It's very confusing, and that's okay. But I think no matter what it is, it's happening.
That's such a great point. I follow Lulu Chen on Twitter, and, just following her, which everyone should follow her, because I feel like we are in this new era, to your point, Kelly, to where you have to be social media native. You have to understand how to use these things to your advantage. The one she posted about this weekend, did you see that, that guy with the water bottle? He basically does 3 hours. There's a joke on social media right now. This guy does basically nothing for 3 hours outside of take care of himself. And he's this millionaire or whatever. And anyways, there's this water bottle company that's right in the beginning of it. And they haven't posted on Twitter in 3 years. And she's they're missing the moment. Make a joke about this thing.
Right.
And so,
right.
We're really entering this era of how do you take these things that are happening to you and creatively and strategically use them as ammunition for your mission?
And at the same time, limit your social media use, because it's not good for, all these messages that can make you crazy. And the other people are I'm tapping out of this whole industry and all these things. So I don't want to do this. I want to go live in the forest, which is great too. But and the message, if you're going to be in this and you want to try and strike while the iron's hot and do these things, you are right. You have to now be involved in things and be aware of things that you did not have to 10 years ago. And lastly, what's going to happen to the spy? What's happening?
I actually left that part out. So when they confronted him, this guy locked himself in the bathroom. And they're you need to come out right now.
Was he
basically,
tweeting?
They were you need to come out. You better not be deleting evidence. And, because it's against the court order. And he was I think he said something along the lines of I'll take my chances or whatever the fuck he said. So it's honestly a high school, it's a mix of high school drama plus CIA level operative shit. that gets wound up together.
It literally should be an episode on Silicon Valley. Like this dude locked himself in the bathroom, like in middle school.
It needs
with
to come
like this
back.
high stakes stuff. It needs to come back.
It needs to come back. Yeah. So Colleen, when we know you listen, and so please call the producers because like this is the shit. The other thing I'll leave us with is last week for 72 hours, this was the only thing people were talking about. And I was at Transform. And so I'm getting the pings of like, yo, go, you and Kelly need to talk about this right now. And then like, we're 3 or 4 days removed, 5 days removed, whatever. Yeah. I've heard shit. Yeah. And so it's another reminder that like, shit that's happening online, it's like a spike and then a drop, right? And so like, I'm sure we will learn more about this. I'm still very intrigued. I know everyone else is still very intrigued. But like when you get really worked up over something that's happening online, give it 3 days and see if you still give a shit. I think it's like a good rule of thumb, especially like when you're under criticism or something like that is happening, because like, I don't really think that this is going to massively impact Deal's business. I don't know if it's going to impact their business at all, Candy.
It's such a good point about waiting. I mean, you've been through this with a lot of those LinkedIn fun you've had. But the last thing I'll say that just came to my mind, and everyone I think knows this, is just the small world we all live in, and the talent and the moving around in talent. Like we talked about some of this with the anti-compete laws and things like that. But it's so easy now, and it doesn't matter if you're in Europe or the US or work here. I mean, it's just the transfusion of these people and the talent in these companies. It's very small.
Yeah.
And very intermingled.
It's just such a small, like I had a manager tell me that earlier. He's like, you don't understand how small the tech world is. And I think he actually undersold it, right? It's like everybody knows somebody.
Absolutely.
And so you got to be careful. Yeah, and I think this is, sunlight is the best disinfectant on these things. To put a nice bow on this thing is like, this is where the world is going. To your point, Kelly, is like, everything's just going to be out there eventually, right? And so if you have like some shadiness going on or things that you're not proud of, better clean up your act, because like you should just assume these things are going to be made public eventually.
Yeah, I mean, don't make dumb decisions, right? If you're the boss having that shitty elimination conversation,
I know
it's going to get recorded and print out, baby. If you're the spy that's double downing and doing just bad stuff, you're going to end up locked in the bathroom.
Yeah, and like we've said a million times, right? Like it needs to pass the New York Times test. It's like, if we assume this ends up on the front page of the New York Times, can we defend it? Are we happy with it? And if not, you should be very careful about how you're operating.
Well, at least Rippling's April 2024 tender offer decision was kind of vindicated here.
It's definitely vindicated. All right, let us know what you guys think. Thanks so much.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.